Hello, friends! There is a document that a significant number of Americans receiving Social Security have never looked at, and I want to be straightforward with you about why that matters. This document is free. It takes about 5 minutes to get, and for a lot of people who actually sit down and go through it carefully, it leads directly to a larger monthly check, not after some complicated legal process, not years from now. A larger check starting as soon as the correction goes through for the rest of their lives. I've seen this play out for people adding $200, $300, even $400 or more to what they receive every single month. And the reason most of them didn't have that money before was simply that nobody told them this document existed or explained what to do with it. I'm going to walk you through exactly what it is, where to find it for free, and most importantly, what to look for inside it, because just pulling the document isn't what changes anything. It's knowing the specific thing to check once you have it open. That's what this video is about. Stay with me until the end, because the specific thing I'm going to ask you to check, the part that actually moves the needle on your benefit, is something almost nobody explains clearly. And once you understand it, it changes how you think about your Social Security entirely. Before we get into it, subscribe to this channel right now and hit the bell. I cover exactly this kind of information here. Straightforward, practical things that directly affect how much money lands in your account every month. People who are subscribed don't miss this stuff. Subscribe now and let's get into it. The document is called your Social Security Statement. It's free. It lives inside an account called My Social Security at ssa.gov. And if you've never set one up, it takes about 5 minutes. Once you're logged in, your statement is right there. And what's inside it is something most people have genuinely never seen: your complete earnings history. Every single year you've ever worked and paid into Social Security, going all the way back to your very first job. Now here's why this document has the potential to increase your benefit. And I want to explain this clearly because it's the part most people don't understand. Social Security does not calculate your retirement benefit based on your last few years of work or some simple average of your lifetime income. It takes your 35 highest earning years, adjusts each one for inflation, averages them together, and runs that number through a formula to produce your monthly check. That 35-year average is everything. It is the single most important number in your entire Social Security calculation. And the only place you can see the raw data behind that number year by year going back decades is your statement. So why does looking at it lead to a bigger check for some people? Because the data in that statement came from employer payroll reports submitted over your entire career. And sometimes those reports contain errors, a year where your employer submitted the wrong figure, a year where the number recorded is significantly lower than what you actually earned, a year that shows up as 0 when you know you are working. Each one of those pulls your 35-year average down, which means your monthly benefit is lower than it should be. According to the SSA's own figures, 1 year of missing or incorrect earnings reduces your monthly benefit by approximately $100. That's $1,200 a year. Over a 20-year retirement, one wrong year costs you $24,000, and it stays that way until someone finds it and corrects it. The SSA does not find these for you. There is no automatic review, no alert, no letter that says your record may be incorrect. The data goes in, the benefit gets calculated, and unless you open your statement and compare it against your own records, those errors sit there silently for years. Who is most likely to have something worth correcting? People who worked for small businesses in the 1980s and 1990s, when payroll reporting was handled manually, and mistakes were far more common than they are today. People who were self-employed at any point, freelancers, contractors, anyone who ran their own business and paid self-employment tax, because errors on schedule forms sometimes mean those years don't show up in the record correctly or show up at a lower amount than what was actually earned and taxed. People who changed jobs frequently because every transition was another opportunity for incorrect data to get submitted by a new employer. And women who changed their last name after marriage or divorce without updating their SSA records. Because if the name on file doesn't match what the employer submitted, those earnings can end up not credited to your record at all, sitting somewhere in the system unassigned to anyone. There's one more thing worth checking that surprises a lot of people. If you have fewer than 35 years of earnings on record because you took time off, raised children, went back to school, or worked in a job not covered by Social Security, the SSA fills those empty years with zero. Those zeros go directly into your average and lower your benefit. But sometimes those years aren't actually empty. Sometimes you worked during that period and the earnings simply weren't recorded correctly. Finding one real year of earnings that was recorded as zero and getting it corrected can add $50 to $150 a month to your check. Finding 2 or 3 can add significantly more. Here is a real example of what this looks like. A man who spent 3 years working for a small construction company in the late 1990s pulled his statement before retiring and noticed the earnings for those 3 years were recorded at roughly 60% of what he'd actually been paid. The owner had handled payroll by hand and submitted incorrect amounts. After filing a correction with his W-2 forms as documentation, his monthly benefit went up by over $340 every month for the rest of his life. He had no idea that money was sitting there unclaimed until he looked at the document. So, here is exactly what to do. Go to ssa.gov and create your My Social Security account if you don't have one. It's free and takes about 5 minutes. Open your statement and find the earnings history section. You'll see a list of every year going back to when you first started working with a dollar amount next to each one. Your job is to compare those numbers against your own records. W-2 forms, old tax returns, pay-ubs, anything you've held on to. You're looking for years where the number is lower than what you actually earned. Years that show zero when you know you were working, and years that are missing from the list entirely. Go slowly. The years that matter most are your highest earning ones because those are the years that go into your 35-year average. An error in a year where you made good money has a bigger impact on your benefit than an error in a low-earning year. If you find something that doesn't match, the form you need is called a Request for Correction of Earnings Record, available directly from SSA. You submit it with documentation proving what your actual earnings were. The best evidence is W-2 forms. And here's something most people don't know. The SSA can pull copies of WTWS going back to 1978 for free if your purpose is correcting your Social Security record. So, even if you don't have your old paperwork, that option is available to you. SSA typically processes corrections within 10 to 90 days. And once the correction goes through, your benefit is recalculated, and the new amount starts showing up in your check going forward. One more thing, there is a 3-year window for correcting recent errors, but older mistakes going back 10, 20, 30 years can still be disputed with the right documentation. Do not assume that because something happened a long time ago, it's too late to fix. If you have the paperwork, it is worth filing. Your Social Security benefit is built on decades of earnings data. If any of that data is wrong, your check is smaller than it should be, and it will stay that way until you find it and correct it. The document that lets you check everything is free, available in 5 minutes at ssa.gov. And going through it carefully is one of the most valuable things you can do for your retirement income right now. Most people spend more time checking their grocery receipt than they've ever spent looking at the record that determines their income for the rest of their lives. This is worth an afternoon. Go to ssa.gov, open your statement, compare the numbers year by year, and if something doesn't match, file the correction. That's the whole thing. Subscribe. Share this with someone you know who's on Social Security or approaching retirement.